Beleza, galera, dia 14 de... 14 ou 15? Acho que já perdi a conta já. 14 aqui, já tô perdido já. Vamos lá, galera, começando meus vídeos aqui no canal. E vamos lá, meia hora de evento aqui pra vocês no canal.
Pause button. Video.
Evento mais curto até o momento. E no próximo vídeo temos Latin American Legs.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grounded 2 Spring Has Sprung panel. We're doing a little sneak peek into the Beat the Heat update that'll be coming out shortly. Or not shortly, but soon, TM. My name is Eric Dorabella. I'm the Senior Community Manager at Obsidian Entertainment, and I have a very awesome panelists here from both Obsidian Entertainment and IDOS Montreal Studio. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
For sure. Thanks, Eric. Oh, thanks. I'm Miles. I'm a senior producer over at Obsidian, working on Grounded 2, and I grew up in New Hampshire, and it's super cool to be at PAX East, especially, so excited to talk more.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm also a producer on Grounded 2 and Obsidian, and I'm also an Englander, so it's nice to be home.
All right, did the push work? I did. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Wild. I am one of the senior character artists at IDOS Montreal, working on Grounded 2.
Awesome. Thank you guys for taking time. Thank you, audience, for coming and checking out the panel. Today we're going to be talking about, as I mentioned earlier, the Beat the Heat update that will be upcoming next for Grounded 2. But before that, we've learned quite a bit from the community, especially with our last winter update. Everyone's feedback, the community's feedback, the players' feedback helps shape what the updates are that are available to everybody. So, we're not just making the game, we're making the game with all of you. Yeah, we're learning a lot of things, especially when it comes to raw science economy.
That's true, yeah. For the Toxic Tangle update, which is the one where you go into the garden, just came out. Early on, we had the public test branch where you can kind of test out the game, the updates, right before they come out. And they're kind of a mix of, early feedback for how things are playing, how things are feeling, but also, bugs and things like that, the fun of early access. But yeah, one big piece of that was making sure we got the raw science economy down correctly, and it was sort of a mix of all of the above as we got there. But, it comes from this place of, in Grounded 1, it was sort of like we were often looking for things to spend raw science on, whereas in Grounded 2, we have a lot of good things to spend raw science on. So people were grinding it out and looking for new sources for it. And we appreciate all the community feedback and stuff we heard that way as far as getting that right.
Yeah, it's, again, like just working with the community to help make the game, that we all want to play. And then, just this week, we really launched with Playgrounds. If you're familiar from Grounded 1, Playgrounds is a mode where you can make the game you want to make within Grounded. And so now that's launched in Grounded 2. That just came out of a public test build as well. And that's available, on available platforms. We've played quite a bit of Playgrounds that's already created from the community. They're a lot of fun. So I highly encourage people to check out, if you're not a creator yourself, that you could check out content that other people are making. And it's been really fun. This is like a puzzle room, which was super exciting to play. Really well built. Arenas, it's really great. But I encourage you guys to check out Playgrounds. All right, let's jump into it. The Beat the Heat coming soon. You guys want to talk a little bit about what's coming in there? We're gonna have more news this coming Tuesday on the Obsidian Twitch channel that really digs deep into what's coming in the update. But let's tease a little bit of stuff.
For sure, yeah. Buff your buggies. That highlighted text right there. Lots to dig into there. As Eric said, we'll probably chat about it some more on stream. It's an ongoing conversation, but super excited for people to finally take their first step towards getting to really own their buggy and make it the way they make it play and feel the way they want it to. So that's one part I'm really digging.
Yeah, we also have a park boss that we're going to reveal at the end of this slideshow. That will also be kind of a shout out to Grounded fans, original OG Grounded players. So looking forward to seeing some reactions to that too.
Yeah, new Eric Explorer. We'll also jump into that. What is that? What is a new Eric to explore in the garden? Well, let's jump into Enter the Sinkhole.
Yeah.
What is it?
What is it? Good question. It's a new area in the garden section of the park. So we just released a garden area in the park with our Toxic Tangle update. So this new dungeon that we're adding is a black ant hill. And with any dungeon that we add to the game, one of the challenges is always making it feel distinct from the other dungeons we have in the game. So this one we wanted to give like a new visual effect to. We've added some sour pools in and some new hazards for you guys to navigate. And if you can get through the black ants and the sour pools, there are a few secrets to unlock at the bottom.
Yeah, let's talk about the art, because I know the IDOS team worked really hard on this region.
Yeah, this was a really, really cool one for the team to work on. And like Taylor just said, like it's trying to keep things new and interesting and pushing into modes of traversal and different elements inside of the sinkhole itself. When we look at these things, we always want to think big to small, and this is not a grounded pun. I swear, it's just how we think of art. We have to think of the overall experience, narrowing down to smaller, cool interactions, encounters, different things, down to very small details that can really reward the player for moving through these spaces. One thing that we're using a lot in this area is light, which for me is a big one. I absolutely think this is very cool the way it is. It's very alien, very really pushing the feeling of this area being invaded by Prominent and kind of what they've done as you kind of go down through this entire area. It's very good mix of kind of what we love to see, these little hints, like really pay attention to things like the whiteboards and the readables in this area. They're very, very cool.
Yeah, I think it is something that I think players tend to focus on. They're reading the little environmental lore that we leave, especially on the whiteboards. It always has funny art on it. Super awesome. All right, now we're gonna jump into buggy progression. There's a lot to talk about here. I know the community has been really wanting ways to, keep their buggy along, find ways to buff them up and fight stronger things. And it's something that we're doing in the spring update.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from day one on Grounded 2, we knew we wanted buggies to be in the game, people to be able to capture their mounts and ride around the park and get up to all sorts of stuff with them. I think the real early access community part of it was also understanding what people wanted to do with those buggies or how they fit into their playthroughs. I think on the design side and concepting, we looked at a bunch of different ways of like, do you tame a buggy? Do you trap a buggy? And we have the flow where you get the egg and you hatch it and you sort of raise it up from that state and kind of give it a name and you get really close to it. And I think a lot of players just like really leaned into that part where they want their buggy to be sort of an expression of themselves and be a part of their playthrough, be part of the party essentially. So when we were looking at buggy progression, it was from that angle of wanting to make sure we gave you more opportunities to sort of lean into what you liked about your buggy and keep the same buggy you had like from day one. Your first red ant buggy that you gave a fun name. I think you'll Stinky maybe is one of them. I've heard thrown around a lot, but like in general, we want to make sure you can take that first red ant buggy and go pretty far with it, as well as complement all the other ones you get along the way. So when we were looking at buggy progression, this is sort of our first step with it. It was informed by community feedback, and where we go from here with buggy progression is also going to be very much brought on by what everyone's feeling and what everyone's enjoying. So see this update and the addition of buggy progression is sort of our first step in that, and we hope to hear a lot more. But just starting off, like all this was based on feedback in terms of tier 1 chopping. The red ant buggy can only chop tier 1 things, even though you've got your omni tool to tier 3 at this point. So finding a way around that, making sure your red ant buggy can keep up with you, that was part of it. Making sure it can hold its own in a fight, even as enemies get tougher and your own gear gets tougher. So just ways to make sure that your buggy, your beloved buggy, is just as strong and growing with you along the way.
Yeah. Hopefully people will stop naming their buggies Sacrifice 1, Sacrifice 2, But, with ways of buffing your buggies, we kind of need a new building. So I'm glad we have Sarah here to talk about, the concepting of the art, of how it's going to work or look and feel.
Yeah, whenever we're approaching any of our designs in this game, we're always trying to pull from every kind of place that we can for inspiration. these are some just different iterations. We're kind of throwing everything at the wall with what we can possibly make the design really interesting, but also work with the function of it. I will really encourage anyone to take a guess at what pop culture reference number 3 was based off of. It's one of my favorite 1990s movies, and I see someone here has gotten it already. But it takes us to kind of where we land with what works best with art and design together.
Yeah, and it's The Fly, if anyone missed it. And this is what the concept came to in the 3D model. I'm gonna have to keep bouncing back because there's a weird timer thing. Oh, you know what? I might be able to hit pause.
It's secret. Yeah. So yeah, the concept Sarah was just showing, we were calling it the Buffin Hut back then, or the Buff Hut. And yeah, where we landed, as you can kind of get little teases of it, is the Buffin barrel instead, where you buff your buggy. And you know, we want to make sure that progression felt like it was tied to something you built in your base, the same way your nest is, or the same way your hatchery is. So the barrel is another example of that. And yeah, that's where your buggy goes for getting buffed up, getting progression going, and really excited for you to see it in motion specifically. It's got a fun slapstick angle to it. We're not going to spoil that here. Enjoy.
Yeah, don't worry, because of the way this slide is being finicky. The YouTubers, they'll screenshot this. They'll show everybody. But yeah, speaking of buffing your buggies, we got a new buggy to buff.
You can see in this concept, this is taking the red ant saddle and taking new resources for crafting and enhancing that to match your next buggy. And we can see black soldier ant. He's super, super cute.
Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah, and give that saddle its own look, is just another way to kind of make the black ant stand apart from the red ant. And there'll be some more kind of mechanical pieces in there too of maybe they fight a little differently, maybe they have different abilities or tendencies, and that'll all kind of show up as well. But as we looked at buggy progression, it was like, you don't have to just replace your red ant with the black ant. It's a good choice for you to have. You can have both. You can go stay with your red ant, but either way, we want the black ant buggy to be, have its own identity and feel like a cool new reason to change things up.
Okay, and now in Toxic Tangle update, we introduced a new species of mutated bugs called ogres. Oh yeah. And now with the Beat the Heat update, they're going to be now accessible in other parts of the park. Do you guys want to jump into what is an ogre?
What is an ogre? Yeah, so if you didn't play the garden update and you didn't see the ogres, they are these sort of monstrosities on the existing monstrosities that are the standard giant bugs of Grounded. They've got these bulging colored veins. They're extra tough in a fight. There's a good kind of body horror wrinkle to them that was maybe inspired by the Mant. Maybe there's some lore implications there. We'll see. But yeah, everyone loves the Mant. So yeah, ogres are these little kind of mini bosses that you would fight that would just be tougher, and they would have different elemental attacks as well. So they're kind of a fun wrinkle on existing combat encounters with the creatures, which again was another piece that the community was always very vocal about. Hey, we love the infected insects from Grounded 1. We want to see kind of more variants on that, and so ogres were kind of our first stab at that, by way of bulging veins and wild attacks. And we also kind of want to make sure this was something that came through the rest of the game. I think Taylor, you've got some thoughts on that, right?
Yeah, one of the challenges with developing a game in early access is making sure that each update doesn't just feel like you're taking a bite out of something and then you digest it and it's over. We want them all to kind of feel like cohesive pieces of a whole. And so when we add updates to the game, we want to make sure that they influence the rest of the map as well. So there is the idea that you could unleash the ogres onto the rest of the park. And that allows this part with the Toxic Tangle update to also impact other updates that we'll do in the future and the updates that we've already released previously. So adding in some more systemic gameplay is like a big goal of ours. So we're really happy that the ogres can contribute to that goal.
And of course, the ogres being this sort of like inorganic, man-made creature of great strength, we actually tied also how buggy progression works into them. There's a way for you to take what's been done to them and in a less extreme way, apply it to your own buggy to help strengthen them up. And sort of getting the right balance between the horror elements of the ogres and like tying it into doing something good for your buggy who you like and don't want anything bad to. That was always part of the challenge visually as well.
Yeah, speaking of visuals, there's probably a lot of iterations that went through like how to make ogres look super cool and unique.
Yeah, and not too scary. So we have this the pumpkin seed. We knew with the design, the art design of the ogres, that we wanted to use this as an element inside of the creatures themselves. So if we look at the next slide, you can see kind of where we started with this, taking that pumpkin seed and putting it, integrating it into the creature itself. Again, playing with that body horror, playing with this thing feeling very unnatural. But we knew we also wanted this to be something that was infused with candy flavor. So if we go to the next slide, you can see there's also some exploration done with leaning way more into the candy side of things. But then that didn't feel like we were kind of balancing it enough between those elements. So if you go to the next slide, you can see where we ended up, which is this kind of mix between those two ideas, the pumpkin seed and the candy flavor, coming together to be very clearly signaling to the player what they're encountering in the game, what they're going to get if they actually want to take the challenge of fighting one of these things, and making sure that they look really cool and distinct.
I guess because there's a lot of cool things here, Sarah. What is the collaborative process, with the whole team of like what gets decided, with all these cool looks like. All of this looks super great. What comes down to like, all right, this is what we're gonna ship with?
Yeah, we are always trying to take every team and different factors into consideration when we're thinking of these things. So from a gameplay standpoint, what do we need? What do we like? What kind of powers they need? What resources we're gonna get? All these different elements. As well as, okay, if we're farther away in the park, is it clear what people are seeing? Can they actually tell what flavor or what actually kind of thing? If they blend too much into the background of the actual world themselves, are you going to know from far away that I should be really, really scared right now? So all these things kind of come together and feed the information for what the art should look like.
Okay, we're gonna tease a little something. The community has been asking this since Grounded 1, and we're all very excited to show you, the next park boss that will be coming into the Beat the Heat update. So we have a little short teaser video to share. We'll have more information on our upcoming stream next Tuesday on the Obsidian Twitch channel. There'll be information on the last slide, but let's check it out. All right, Key. Thank you. King Dozer, your new BFF. He'll be in the spring update. Again, this is probably the most community requested boss since day one in Grounded. And now we're super, super excited that King Dozer is coming to Grounded 2.
How cathartic is it for you, Eric? I know you've been part of this community since Grounded 1's, from the jump. So, like, how excited are you to finally be able to answer the question of where is the lizard?
It feels so damn good. Because, early on in Grounded 1's development, we kind of just ignored the lizard in the room, so to speak, until, finally, Adam Brennicky from Grounded 1, game director, I was like, Adam, you need to come on stream. You need to tell the community it's not happening. But it never stopped. So when Grounded 2 was announced, they're like, there's like, oh, you're telling me there's a chance. And now it's happening. So yeah, super excited that we could finally, talk about King Dozer, show off a little bit of today, but more on the conceptual side. And yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah, and all love for IDOS as well for seeing this in the very early days of Grounded 2 and being like, we have to fulfill the promise of the Lizard. This is our duty, and I'm so excited for everyone to actually check out what they put together.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of the IDOS team because they really care about what the community thinks and what they want. Early on development, I was like, all right, what are things from Grounded 1 that the community really wanted that, but we didn't have the time or resources to do that we can do in Grounded 2. And yeah, Buggies and Lizard were definitely top 2. Yeah, but let's jump into the art, concepts, because it's hard to, like Axel, it's hard to gauge how big he really is until you're actually in the game playing it. So let's talk about the art side of things.
Yeah, we started obviously from the Grounded 1 Lizard, and we knew we wanted to kind of grab the essence of that, but pull it into the kind of lore and everything we were building in Grounded 2. So we have some concepts here. We have this one, and we have the next slide as well, where we're playing with shape language, we're playing with color. What do we want him to do? We're always trying to take into consideration gameplay and everything else while we're deciding what these creatures are actually going to look like. He landed in a very cool spot. Obviously, you could see from that little teaser video.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, with new bosses, new creatures, insects, that means new parts. Then here's just a sense of scale of how big King Dozer is.
Teeny tiny Max next to those pieces, to give you an idea.
And then, so jumping into armor, weapon designs. So of course, new boss means new gear, but we also heard a lot of feedback from the community that like the fighter playstyle, the fighter archetype needed some buffing, needed a little help, and so that's something Taylor's gonna talk more on.
Yeah, we kept hearing that Rogue is the meta, and Rogue has all of the cool armor and weapons, and so we wanted to give a little love to a different archetype in fighting. So this armor set is really focused on the fighter playstyle, and Sarah can speak more to how we're designing it for fighting styles, but it's nice to kind of show a little love and switch up the meta to a new group of people.
Yeah. Exactly that. It's the same thing I was talking about with these Black Ant Sinkhole. There's always the big ideas being considered and brought into play when we're approaching any of these armor and weapon sets. If we want to go to the first slide.
Yeah.
Starting from, so basically I'm going to talk about this new set and concept to share with you guys. I am going to talk a little bit about the process of how we approach that. So we always take into consideration the archetype, gameplay, everything we want this set to provide to the player. One thing that we were really thinking of with this one, and maybe Miles, do you want to talk about the perk for the archetype?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, kind of as Taylor pointed out as well, wanting to give more love to people that are playing the fighter archetype. As it stood, it was like the set you got with it, the buff was tied to kind of pulling an aggro, which was very kind of multiplayer favored. So one of the changes also is making sure that the fighter archetype is viable and valuable for if you're playing single player too. So the improvement there is that fighters have a greater capacity to stun enemies now, and the shields themselves will actually carry the buffs tied to pulling aggro. So you still have that lever to pull, but you can also kind of own that fighting style as a single player and get some more kind of like flair and value out of it as well.
So this is like a fundamental change to the archetype itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you'll see this cool new set, but you'll also see some changes to the whole fighter class. It's really important for us when we're doing any of these things to take all of this information, everyone working together. It's one of the kind of coolest things about working with this team is that everyone can kind of have a say and an impact in where we end up with these things. We are always trying to riff off of each other and kind of pull out the coolest bits of what we're all finding together. So always starting broad, so you can see these two very different designs here, very different helmets. If we want to go to the next slide, you can see the more we talk with each other, the more we kind of figure out what's happening, even especially with the creature design or whatever we're using as the resources for each set, how those are going to influence what we're putting together. You can see we've done a color pass here. We were doing this set earlier than we were actually doing any of the combat for this at all. So we had a lot of questions for what we really wanted to get out of that, from the resources. So if you go to the next slide, you can see what we leaned into with this color palette. And it's very, very cool, very cool looking. But we have the armor set, then we also need to take into consideration what weapons we're gonna have with this as well. So if we wanna go to
Yeah, I think weapons, people are super excited. I mean, this set looks incredible. So I'm excited to see tell the community where we landed.
So we started thinking about a fist weapon for this set. You are going to see in just a couple of slides why we did not go with a fist weapon, but some of the early shape language explorations with this one, we decided to go to, and we can see on the next slide, some other ideas. And this slide, I think, illustrates really well how difficult it can be when you're actually trying, at the early stages of designing something, to narrow down what it is you'd like to put in, because every single one of these is really cool, and I would love it if we could have had every single one. If we go to the next slide there, you can see even in color, they're even more cool, but we have to, of course, keep in mind what is the play style that we want to go along with this armor and weapon? What do we want to, have the player be able to experience? How do we want to balance that across everything else we already have in game and have planned to come in the game later?
These look incredible. I want them all in the game.
Yes, I know,
But,
sorry.
sometimes we can't get everything we want, but
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
don't worry, community. I'll be your herald, but no promises though.
And I was going to say too, like, as you said, like, it's really hard to narrow down from here. And this is already narrowed down to, like, we want to go with a fighter, right? So it's like you're already kind of down to 25% of possibilities if you're going with the archetypes. And even then, there's just so much fun stuff to dig in here. Those are tough meetings because I want all of these.
But yeah, ultimately we, nailed it down to, because again, we're placating to the fighter playstyle, fighter armor.
Yeah, we narrowed it down to shield and a single-handed hammer. And this one, there's a story I really love with this. It's really highlighting how much the teams work together, how much we're riffing off of each other for ideas. When the shield was proposed, it was instantly a very cool idea. This whole set together with the shield and the hammer was a really great feeling. But their concept artist came forward with this shield that had these spikes on the front. And of course, if you're going to do a perfect block with a shield that's got spikes on it, you're going to assume that's going to do some damage. So game design actually came back after seeing these sketches and said, that's a really cool idea, and we're going to integrate some damage into perfect blocks with these. So you can see this kind of beautiful back and forth that we have between these teams and how that ends up with these little tidbits that I think add just really cool elements to each individual thing that we build in this game.
So the next weapon we're going to show, you might be conflicted. I'm conflicted, especially after seeing some amazing fan art, handcraft little things that was on the Grounded subreddit. But ultimately, I think it's super fun. All right, well.
Yeah, the reason why we didn't go with the fist weapon for the lizard is because we had another fist weapon already planned, and that is the woolly whoppers. This is using the woolly aphid as a resource. If you want to go to the next, the next slide, you can see the 3D, and you can see our beautiful little woolly aphid there, looking at his brethren in horror.
Guess where your fist goes.
Well, Max can show you that on the
I wish we had a slide of what the original, where the fist goes.
The earlier concepts for this one, it took a lot to decide which side you're going to put your fist in.
But yeah, we have a asset here, Max in game with the woolly whompers.
Very strange expression he's making in this one.
He's got thoughts.
I feel like it's either you love it or you hate it. I don't know. Like, let us know, community.
But yeah, I think that conflict was like, oh, the woolly aphid's so cute. Everyone loves the woolly aphid. And then Toxic Tangle came out, and the woolly aphid, did the chill burst and destroyed your bases and killed you, and you're just trying to do something mundane. And you're like, all right, you know what? It's got it coming at this point. We're good.
So if you hate the woolly aphid, this is your way to get revenge.
Or if you love it, this is a way to pay homage.
Or if you're a longtime fan of sock and boppers,
I love the eye stitching. It's okay, so, again, it's a collaborative process of, with the Obsidian team, the IDOS team, and even the community. What are we wanting to learn from the community? What kind of feedback we want, especially with each update? Because again, we're shaping and making this game together. So like for the upcoming update, buggy progression is going to be really huge for us to want to get feedback from the community. How does it feel? Is it too grindy? Are the resources too hard to get? Does it feel worth it to spend those resources to upgrade your buggy? And then I guess King Dozer fight as well. We got like a ton of feedback from Axel, from the Axel update, the hairy and scary one. Now the Axel fight is super strong. It's really fun. So yeah, we want to get like the same information. How does the fight feel? Is it a slog? Is it too difficult? And all that stuff. And again, we'll have more information this coming Tuesday. Doing a deeper dive into the update. And is the gear rewarding enough? Is the hammer and shield super cool? Is it enough? And again, with earlier we talked about the economy balance. Is there enough raw science? Because there's a lot of things to spend raw science on, and not enough to get it.
Yeah, we really do mean that we love reading your feedback. We do go through a lot of the posts in the Discord, all of them really, and no idea is too out there or too outlandish. Like playing through the lizard boss fight, I suggested it should smoke a cigarette and be romanceable. So if I can give that feedback, then all of your ideas are valid, and we would love to hear any that you have, even if they just give us a laugh. So please.
But don't smoke, seriously.
Yeah, sorry, that was not, no, we're not endorsing smoking.
He's an enemy,
Yeah, he's a bad boy,
No, but I mean, like reflecting on everything we talked about today, every part of it got touched by community feedback in some capacity, right? Like buggy progression, the whole foundation and direction you want to take there was based on how you guys felt about buggies. The ogres came from, how you wanted different variants in existing creatures, emphasizing the fighter archetype, getting more diversity of builds out there. Like everything does come back around from there, and that's the fun part of early access. It's a conversation, and we get to kind of respond each update and see what you guys want to say next.
Yeah, I just want to hammer that it's crazy being in early access how things can dramatically change based on people's feedback. So yeah, we heavily rely on the community feedback. And again, Miles messaged the Discord. Discord.gg/groundedthegame. We have a suggestion bot on there, so anyone can make a suggestion, and the community actually gets to vote upon it. And when it reaches a certain threshold, I add that to my spreadsheet, and we meet with the IDOS team to go like, these are what the community wants, and it's our job to see if it fits, how it works, or if someone is like, this is a great idea, but it would work better implementing it this way. So, we're still addressing the community's feedback and suggestions to do what's right for the game and stand by the community. So yeah, discord.gg/groundedthegame. We also look at other places, the Steam forums. Reddit is a huge resource that we look at too. And even like the support tickets that come in where people have like bug reporting or also suggestions there. It really helps a lot. It goes a long way. All right. I know we kind of blitzed through this pretty quick.
We're pros.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming to the panel. I guess I didn't expect us to talk that fast, but yeah, we went through a lot. Again, this was a sneak peek. And yeah, thanks for coming again. Right there on the screen. The Beat the Heat update enters the public test beta April 1st. That is no joke. So people get to go in, check out the new stuff, get your feedback. But yeah, deeper dive this coming Tuesday, twitch.tv/Obsidian. Our streams go live at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time because we're a West Coast studio.
Next in 19, Nivelis de Poder Elgicus y on Cifras de la Close.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the panelists for talking about the update and coming to PAX East. So.
Pause, play, button.
Muito obrigado a todos por me acompanharem na PAX Este. Lembrando a todos, voltamos amanhã ou daqui a pouquinho. Não sei, saberemos. quando sair o vídeo. Muito obrigado. Valeu, falou, galera. Beijos. Eu fui.
Iniciar janela. Mostrar área. No OBS Studio 2 executando o OBS. Interromper.